everyone, welcome back. My name is Destiny and today I'm going to bring you my August mid-month wrap-up. I know this video is coming a little bit late, but I wanted to put it up anyways, even though it's probably going to be pretty short because I have not read much this month. So the first thing that I finished this month was my reread of The Last Olympian. This is the last Percy Jackson and the Olympians book, and I was rereading the series with Ellen before we moved on to the Heroes of Olympus series, which I had not read yet. I'm currently reading the first one. I gave this 5 stars again. This is still one of my favorites in the series. I really love how high the stakes actually feel, and the pacing is perfect, and getting to see all of these small characters finally come into these big roles is very exciting. Plus, you know, we finally get some Hades representation that we deserve. So yeah, I'm really glad that I reread this. Next, I read Loathe at First Sight by Suzanne Park. I was super excited for this, and unfortunately I kind of hated it. I gave it 2 stars. This is being pitched as a rom-com about a heroine who is a gamer and works in game design. That's not what you actually get from this book. 1, it is not a romance, it's a contemporary book. 2, the heroine isn't a gamer. She literally goes to work in the game design industry so that she can say that she did and succeeded. There is literally no real mention of anybody being gamers in this book. For all that these characters actually do work at a game design company, you can tell that this was not written with gamers at heart, which is what I was hoping for. So, you know, maybe I just went into it with mismanaged expectations, but I was really let down. On top of that, the characters are just awful. The story is not enjoyable. I didn't like the writing style, and the romance is basically non-existent. There is no chemistry between the heroine and the love interest at all, and you barely even see them interact on page. So I'm really not sure why this is being marketed as a romance at all, because it's not. And I was worried maybe I was just being kind of unfair, but even looking at Goodreads reviews, like, that's the most common complaint that I keep seeing about this book, is people being like, why is this being marketed as a romance? This is not a romance book. The only reason that I gave this 2 stars instead of 1 is because I do really appreciate the fact that it goes into the extra bullshit that women of color have to deal with in the gaming industry, because obviously women have to deal with enough shit as it is, but then add on top of that being a woman of color and the racism that gets thrown at her as well. So I did appreciate that representation, which is why I did end up giving it 2 stars. Next, I read Unboxed by Brianna Morgan. This is a horror short story told in play format, and that format works really well for this because it's really easy to get sucked into the setting of the story. You could really imagine it all playing out in your head. Unboxed is about a paranormal vlogger who decides that he wants to try to buy a mystery box off the dark web so that he can go viral. But when he gets it, he gets a lot more than he bargained for. And this was just really fun. I really love horror that's based around technology and the dark web. That's something that really intrigues me, especially because so often it feels like something that could really happen. So yeah, this was a lot of fun, and Brianna's writing is excellent. I really enjoyed her writing, and I can't wait to see what else she does. The only reason that this got 4 stars instead of 5 for me is that I really wish that this had been longer and that we had gotten more backstory on the villain, because he seemed really cool and really interesting, but we didn't get to spend a lot of time with him. So if this had been a little bit longer and a little bit more fleshed out in that aspect, I feel like this would have been such an easy 5-star read for me. That said, like I said, her writing is incredible, and I really can't wait to see what she writes next. And if you also like technology-based horror, or if you're interested in the idea of a horror story being told through a play, or even if you're just interested in the premise at all, I highly recommend Unboxed. The next thing that I read was The Roommate by Rosie Danan. I honestly did not expect to love this as much as I did, but this was incredible. I gave it 4.5 stars. This is a romance between a very smart, shy, quiet, kind of virginal type of character and her new roommate, who she ends up finding out very early on is a pretty well-known porn star. Since she is so shy and she considers herself kind of a prude, obviously living with a porn star is kind of a shock for her, but she handles it really well, and they end up kind of finding this common ground between them because she's so inexperienced with relationships that she has no idea what they can be like. Of course, the only problem is that despite being so physically attracted to each other, both of them think that the other one is totally out of their league. The thing that I loved most about this story, aside from how great their banter was and how sweet they are and how great it was watching these two finally kind of get over their own insecurities and let the other one in, is also how sex positive this was. There is no slut shaming of the actors or actresses, and even though Clara is kind of terrified of them, she's also in awe. I also feel like the dark side of the adult film industry and the way that so many of these executives treat their employees is something that is not talked about very much. And so I appreciated the fact that this was a pretty common plot point throughout the story, was just a reminder that a lot of these people are not being treated very well. And obviously that's something that you see in many industries, but I think a lot of people don't really think about how much that happens in the adult film industry and the steps that consumers should be taking to try to avoid that happening. When I started my booktube channel, I never really thought that I would be filming a video where I would sit down in front of my camera and talk about the mistreatment of adult film stars. But here we are. And moving on, the last thing that I've read so far this month is The Song Rising by Samantha Shannon. This is the third book in the Bone Season series, and don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything for the first two books if you're not caught up, but this was absolutely phenomenal. I think this might have been the best one in the series so far. I loved the pacing. It was nonstop action. I was on the edge of my seat and so nervous for these characters because I love these characters so much. Like, Samantha Shannon has such a way with just getting you so attached to characters. Sometimes in just a few chapters, you're already just completely attached to them. This has just been absolutely wonderful. I have so enjoyed reading this series with Jules, and we both actually have arcs of the fourth book, The Mask Falling, which we're going to be buddy reading in September. And I'm really excited, but I'm also so nervous, partially just because obviously I don't know what's going to happen to my babies, but also because if I'm going by the endings of the first three books, I have a very strong feeling that the fourth book is also going to leave me needing the next book immediately. But you know, the first three books, it was like, okay, I have the next book, it's okay if it ends on a cliffhanger, and I'm not going to have that luxury with this one. So I'm also like, oh, Samantha Shannon, like, please go easy on me, like my heart can't take it. But she won't, because I think she enjoys torturing people. Okay, and that's it. That is what I've read so far this month. Not gonna lie, I am panicking a little bit because I set really lofty goals for myself in August and I am nowhere near accomplishing them. I figured it up and I am gonna have to bust my ass and read a lot every day if I want to accomplish basically any of my goals for the month. So we'll see how that goes. But you know, what matters most is that I'm really enjoying most of what I'm reading lately. And I hope you are too. So come talk to me in the comments. Tell me what's the best thing you've read so far this month, or what are you reading right now, or how's your day going? Just whatever you want to say. I just love hearing from you. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, please click like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And I hope you're having an amazing day. Happy reading. Bye.